welcome everybody, our students from Tacony Charter Academy, and our guest, Hannah Miller, who is marketing and PR specialist with Panoni. Welcome back, Hannah. It's good to see you.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Great, great. In the simplest terms, can you tell us what is Panoni? What do you guys do at Panoni? And then what do you do as marketing and as a PR specialist?
So my name is Hannah Miller. I'm a marketing and PR specialist at Panoni. Panoni is a multidisciplinary engineering firm. So what that means is we do basically every kind of engineering, civil, transportation, structural. We also have some other things like survey and geospatial. It's called GIS, geospatial informatics systems. Had to remember that, as well as a bunch of other things. And then my job is to basically tell other people what that is, and show off our projects and make sure that when you're driving down the street and you see a sign that says Panoni or you see a project that is Panoni, it's my job to make sure that you know that it's ours. And so that way we can show that off and get more work other ways. And then also when major events happen, I'll be the one who is in charge of contacting the news or, making sure different newspapers are there or pictures make it out on social media. So we like to joke if there's words on it at some point in time, I've touched it. I usually write all the communications for the company internally and externally. So things that are just for employees, but as well as things that are going out to clients and, like I said, to the news, stuff like that. So yeah, there's a lot more to it, but that's the long and short.
Well, that makes sense to me. All right. So, Hannah, tell us, where did you grow up? And where are you located now? Where are you based out of now?
Absolutely. So I grew up in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, small town New Hope. And then I went to college at the University of South Carolina in Columbia, South Carolina. And actually now I've lived in Philadelphia for the last 5 years. So I am living in Philly
So
and
you
working in
are the
Philly.
story. You grew up there in Bucks County in Pennsylvania, left for school, and then found your way back close to home. That's
Yes.
really neat. All right. So think back when you were in middle school and high school. What kept you busy? What were you naturally inclined to be doing?
Oh my gosh, what wasn't I? My mom always said you got better grades when you were busy. So we had a packed schedule.
Tell
I
us
was
a couple
really
of
into
things you were doing.
basketball,
Okay.
and really into music back then. So I used to do theater and acting. I also played the saxophone and then additionally was on a couple of basketball teams. And I played on a travel basketball team and the AAU team. And those were like my two major passions, but I also played other sports and I liked to read and get involved in clubs at school. So
Wow. All right. So
basically
tell
what
us,
wasn't I doing?
yeah, you stayed busy. You did a lot with basketball. Were you ever the captain? What position did you play? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I was always the tallest kid in my grade growing up. I was 5'8" in 7th grade. So um I played the center on all of my basketball teams. I was the captain of my team in 8th grade for our AAU team. And then I think what else now? Wow, it's been a long time. I loved to act. That was really fun too. So that was really my two big passions were basketball and theater back then, which I know are very, very different things, but I would perform in county plays and then also my school plays. And
Right on.
yeah,
That's
it was
awesome.
really
So
fun.
you stayed busy. You
Yeah.
were leading your team. It sounds like you were also involved in different clubs. Does any of that have anything to do with what you're doing nowadays? Being able to do the internal and the external communications, doing the marketing for a large company like Panoni?
I think anything where you have to put yourself out there comes to play when you're an adult especially in a corporate role where my job is, sometimes I have to present in front of people and sometimes I have to talk in front of big groups and be comfortable in that space, do something like this where, you're not sure what you're going to get asked and you have to just be able to answer it on the fly. I would say a lot of that grows through your years, starting from middle school and high school, where I know it's the toughest and the hardest to really put yourself out there, and being able to do that and be comfortable with yourself makes you better at your job when you're older, which I think I just learned through the years. And I didn't know it then, but looking back, I know it now.
Speaking of looking back, before your current role, what was one step or decision that changed the direction of where you are today?
College, I started as a nursing major. Um, I went to college on a nursing scholarship. I had gotten into the University of South Carolina nursing program and um, started doing it. And after about a semester and a half, I realized I'm not good at this and I really don't like doing it. And I cannot imagine doing this for the rest of my life, which was a really tough decision because you think you know what you're going to be doing. And now you have to switch everything. And what does that look like? And what do you want to do instead? You don't know. I think now I know I've ended up where I was supposed to. I've ended up doing what I'm good at. And I think through that, I've learned that it's okay to pivot. You can, You don't have to keep doing something just because you thought that's what you wanted. And I think that definitely not only just changed like my professional life, but just my life in general. I heard like a saying once that was, if you get on the wrong train, it's much easier to get off at the next stop, even if it's embarrassing, but it's going to cost you a lot more if you keep going because you're too embarrassed to get off the train.
That's good.
And I think that's just true. If you don't like it, it's okay. You don't have to know what you're going to do. You're 18 years old when you pick. I'm 29 years old now, and I still am changing my career. I still don't know exactly what I want to do. And I think that just first decision, it was so hard for me realizing that you feel shame about it and guilt about it, that you've gone and you dedicated all this time to something that you thought you wanted. And then you get there and you're like, hey, this is not for me. I don't want to do this.
That's
And that's
right.
a really hard thing. But now I think it was a really great thing. And I think it's okay because you don't have to know everything when you're 18 and you can figure it out at 29 or 49 or 109. You still got time.
That's right. Well, I can definitely relate, and I love that illustration you have about getting off at the next station and that those pivots. Super encouraging. It's why we exist as Access co-leaders, so our students can hear all the different pivots and challenges that we face in our current work, in our industries. Excuse me. All right. Well, we're going to turn it over to our students and let's hear what they want to ask. Let's start off with Blake. What's your first question for Hannah?
What would you say would be your main piece of advice to finding your perfect position?
That's a good question. Great question, Blake. I would say start with what you know you love. Like, it doesn't have to be something, oh, you love this subject in school. What do you love outside of school? Do you like to be in nature? Do you like to build Legos? Do you like to music? What do you like? And then how can you turn that into something that you're passionate about that can make you money? And that doesn't just necessarily have to be going and starting, your own company or something, which I absolutely encourage you. But that's, what can you start with? Can you do something that you like and turn it into a job? Something for me specifically in my current role, I'm actually starting to shift roles in this new year, and I'm going to be working more on events for my company. I love planning events. I love planning a party. I love planning, and I even liked that in college. That was something I did through my sorority, things like that. And through my work in the last couple of years at Pannoni, I've been able to say, hey, I'm really good at this and I really, really enjoy it. Is there a way that I can morph this into a different role for myself so that I can do the thing that I love and I'm passionate about at my job? And, you do a better job when you're loving what you're doing. So that's how it's working for me. So I would say start with what you know you love, and it doesn't have to just be in school or, something that you're already doing or headed towards. What do you know you like? And then how can you turn that into a job?
That's good. That's good, Hannah. Let's go to Veronica. What's your first question?
I was wondering, how did you choose to become like a marketing and PR specialist?
I think that was just a natural progression for me. I graduated college and my degree was in public relations. I think my official term for my degree is journalism, mass communications with the concentration of public relations, which was what my major was. And then I had they called it a cogna. It's like a minor in sports and entertainment management. So when I first graduated college, I worked for an agency, PR agency, and I didn't love that as much. It was more fast paced and you didn't get to, not that I don't like fast paced, I don't want to say that. It was more, you didn't really get to know your client very well. It was just, you do these things and you move on to the next one. Whereas now, as I work in an in-house place where I get to do everything, know all the pieces of and the players involved. And I think that is better for me because knowing the whole picture and the whole story makes it easier for me to do my job. So I think it was just a natural progression. I had done the agency first, didn't love it. And then also COVID happened, which, that was a whole other thing and messed up a lot of my career
Yeah.
early on trying to find a job. And so when I landed into this, it was just the perfect next step.
So tying back to what you shared with Blake earlier as far as finding something that you're passionate about. So you mentioned that you minored in sports entertainment, which that is awesome. So your undergrad is also an opportunity to explore what's out there and integrate some of your passions. So thanks for sharing that piece. Let's
Absolutely. Yeah.
go to Ayana. What's your first question for Hannah?
So you said you play basketball, right? What position did you play and how does it help you in your career now?
I played the center. Like I said, I was very tall in middle school. I was the tallest kid in my grade all throughout, even starting high school. I was one of the tallest kids in my grade. And I do think that that helped me be more aggressive and more confrontational in that role. And then I guess that translates to now. Now that I'm looking back, there's a lot of things that helped me turn into who I am now that I didn't necessarily think about how I should be on a team in the corporate world.
That's right. And I love it. I love when you come back and you get to learn more about yourself. I'm thinking because
Absolutely.
you played the center, you also had a view of all the players and figuring out where things, where the ball was going and how to get the point, right? And so now as you're transitioning into more of the events, managing events for Panoni. Do you think that basketball and playing center has anything to do with that?
I'm sure there's something in there. Uh, I think in terms of who I am as a person, I would say basketball definitely shaped that and helped me figure out who I am and what I loved. I think in terms of skills that I actually genuinely use in a day to day, I would argue going back to the theater is probably something I use more of, just because you have to be able to talk on the fly and you have to be able to stand in front of people and, for lack of a better term, perform, even if it's just a presentation that you know what you're talking about. To keep, I know I work in public relations, but for a very long time I had a fear of public speaking. And I think everyone gets a little nervous when you have to talk in front of people, but through time and doing that more, I think that helped a lot.
Well, we love that you're sharing so authentically, and we get to all, find pieces of ourselves related to your story. So thank you, Hannah. Genevieve, your first question.
So, how would you separate your personal life towards your work life? Like, is it stressful in some cases?
Work-life balance, that's always a great question. I have the luxury of working for a company that I think values that, and we have that. It's funny, when you get to your mid-20s, late 20s, I do think that there's more of a blend of my work and life than I would have originally thought, because actually some of the best friends that I've made in my adult life have been from work. I think once you graduate high school and you graduate college, there's this interim period that I have found where it's a little bit harder to make friends because everyone is in such a different place in their life and you're not on such a set path like you were in high school. You finish freshman year and you go to sophomore year. And then the same thing in college. And then when you graduate college, people are going back to school for graduate degrees and other people have just started working or, whatever it might be. And when I started this job, there was a lot of young people working there. And I mean, some of those people have become quite literally my best friends. And I don't think I would have had that. So I do have a great work-life balance where I'm not having to work, late nights or on the weekends and stuff. But I do blend it in that the people that I spend my weekends with and my summertime with and my vacations with are people that I met through work. Maybe not necessarily just my coworker, but maybe people that I have met through a coworker. So that has been a very good experience for me.
I will circle back on Panoni because I feel like some of your coworkers have become my best friends, right? Because of the culture of Panoni and the retention. It's like once you get into Panoni, people stay there. And that says a lot. I like emphasizing that. If that is what you're into, you want to be part of a community, also work and, in a cool industry. What Hannah mentioned, I mean, she is not an engineer and she's not doing any construction or surveying. She is in what I always say is a industry agnostic position as marketing and PR. So, and now she's going into events. So I love being able to hear that. It's one of those jobs you can do for any type of industry. So thank you, Hannah, for sharing that. Let's go
Absolutely.
back to Blake. What's your next question for Hannah?
All right. One, to best develop your identity, would you say to stick out and and accept the strange and unknown to better understand yourself?
Absolutely. I don't think any of that has to be intentional. I think it just being yourself. And if that, what comes along the way, I think that is the best way I've gotten to know myself and my friendships and my relationships would just be rolling with the punches and see what happens. And I think definitely to accept the strange and unknown. I think the unknown is the biggest thing. And I think that is the hardest thing, even for me, even now at 29, I struggle a lot with the control and wanting to know what I don't know. And I think the best things that have happened in my life have happened when I just accepted the unknown and said, okay, it'll play out how it's supposed to and everything will be great. And I think down to, it's funny, every single thing that I look back on that is a huge part of my life, whether that's where I went to college, where what I graduated with, who my friends are now, where I live, all of those different things worked out exactly how they were supposed to. And I even look back to, I graduated college in 2019 and then COVID started and I had just started my job and then I was living back at home and I didn't want to live at home anymore. I wanted to go explore and do all this other stuff. And then the next thing I knew, I ended up living in Philly and getting this job. And that has been one of the greatest pleasures of my life. So I wouldn't have changed it in the world now that I know, but I didn't know then. And I was really worried about it then.
That's awesome. Deep questions, Blake. I like that. But let's
Yeah, that was a good
pause here
question.
for a little bit, Hannah. What you describe in some of your even recent responses is networking. Tell us a little bit how networking has helped you in your job currently, or how networking has helped you get to where you are today.
Absolutely. So I think one thing I like to remind myself about networking is that networking is not just people you meet at work. Networking is anybody you've ever met in your entire life. They are your network. They will, if there's somebody, I think everyone here is good people. You'd want to help someone who would, and you'd like to think that they would help you. And that is your network. So that can be someone that you worked at your first job with. That can be someone you play sports with. That can be someone you join a club with. And it takes a long time to realize that it doesn't just have to be someone that you met at work or you met at an event through work. And that's the only person that you can reach out to when you need something or they need something. Your network is anybody you've ever met in your life. And I think it's played a huge tremendous role in my different roles. My first role that I got post college, I actually had met someone. I worked as a lifeguard in my summers in high school and college. I worked as a lifeguard right when I was graduating, and someone who was attending, one of the patrons of the pool that went there every day. She was telling me that she worked in PR and that she was hiring, and I said, "Oh my gosh, I actually just graduated with a degree in PR. Don't have a professional or a corporate job yet. I'm still working as a lifeguard this summer and I don't really know what I'm going to do after that. Would you be willing to give me your card?" And she did. And I reached out and then she ended up being my boss and I worked there for about a year. So perfect example of someone who not necessarily, I was just lifeguarding the pool she was sitting at and happened to overhear something and we started chit chatting and one thing led to another. And then that's when, like Blake said, you got to let the unknown happen. You don't know what's going to happen, but as long as you're yourself, something will work out.
I love that, Hannah. Thanks for sharing that. And I hope our students really heard. You had to be brave to ask the question, but you also had to be present and aware to hear that, like, oh, she's in PR. I should ask her. And then the final step of circling back and she gave you a card, but you didn't just let it sit there. You reached out to her. So I think that's really
Absolutely.
important. And here you are with Panoni. So that's amazing. I love that story. Veronica, let's go to you. What's your next question?
I was gonna ask specifically what was strange or like something that you weren't really sure of that actually changed your life.
That's a tough question. Let me think about that for a second.
Round two. They get a little deep. Round two here, Hannah. Buckle
I
up.
like it. You guys are prepped and ready.
Maybe some
You
of the
know?
pivots or the challenges you had leading
Yeah,
up to, like,
I will say, and I know I've mentioned it twice already, but when I first started working at Panoni, I didn't know if that was going to be the spot for me. And I'll be completely honest. Again, like I had mentioned, COVID. I had lost my job during COVID and had been out of work, and I was applying to any and everything. Anywhere I could find an open application, I was applying. And at that point, to me, I've been out of work for a couple of months, almost, 6 months, maybe a little bit longer. The world was at a standstill and not a lot of people were hiring marketing professionals and, or anybody who wanted to do events. So I was applying to any and everything. I ended up, connecting with Panoni, and for me, I wasn't sure if that's the spot. Oh, I thought, oh, I'm going to do all this other stuff. And then the next thing I know, I'm working at an engineering firm, which at first, if I'm honest, I thought was going to be pretty boring and I wasn't going to like it and kind of rolled with that. I wasn't sure. Going back to the unknown, I was like, well, I need a job. So I'll just take the first one I can get my foot in the door at. And now I've been here 5 years and I love it. I like the work that I do. I've learned so much. And even if it's not always super, super interesting, and I won't lie, sometimes it is pretty boring. And I was right about that. I do love what I do and I get to do what I love. And I have just learned so much. And even just about Philly and about people and how to work and the jobs that we do. And I've grown my own skills and learned from some great people that have worked there through the last few years. Now, I was really scared about that. I know everybody else was when it was a global pandemic, but I was really stressed about it and it ended up working out pretty perfectly.
well, I appreciate your honesty about the boring parts of certain industries. But that also tells us what we're into, right? It might be boring to us. I feel like you and I are very similar, but it's not boring for somebody who genuinely enjoys the numbers and engineering. Like I've met other people from Panoni that like fly drones, right? Or that they love art. So they do art on the side, but they're also an engineer or
Absolutely.
an architect. So
Just want to say one thing off the drone thing. The person who started the drone program at Panoni was someone who did it on the side as a passion project. He did it outside on his weekends and he really loved it. And he was like, I think I can turn this into something I can make money off of. And he was the one who initiated. He had his own drone that he flew on the weekends that he played with. And I don't, I don't know. I don't know what you do with the drone. Played with the drone on the weekend and then brought it into work and said, I think we can turn this into something. I think we can use this as bridge inspection. It was just starting, nationwide. It's still a very new thing, but using drones to do the undercarriage of bridge inspections. So instead of putting a person attached to a rope rappelling there, where it's a pretty dangerous job, we can use a drone to do that. We can take pictures of these things. And he got it initiated at Panoni just because he loved doing it on the weekends. And he said, I think I can turn this into part of my
Yeah,
job.
there are various examples of that. Specifically at Panoni, when we talk about cultures of the company, and I know of another engineer. That's what they do. They went to school to be an engineer, but they're really good at making
Mm,
videos. And so they do some of the videos for Panoni. So that's really awesome. You guys
absolutely.
listen to that. Like, take your passion, don't set it aside. You can integrate that. Let's go back to Ayana. What's your next question?
What was your biggest fear growing up and have you overcame it?
Guys got some deep questions. Wow. I gotta think about this. My biggest fear. If I took it down the joking route, I would say my biggest fear was outer space, and no, I have not overcome that yet. But I will also say I think one of my biggest fears growing up was just not ending up where I was supposed to be. Everyone has these thoughts and these oh, I wanna have a nice house, and I wanna get married, and I wanna have a great job, and I wanna be rich, and all of these things. And they take time, but they do come. And that I think I wouldn't necessarily have overcome it, but I've learned to accept that I'm not in control. I'm in control of what I can control, and the rest will fall into place if I just stay true to myself and I keep doing the things that I love and I keep working hard and I keep, showing other people exactly who I am. Those people will find me. And I've found that more, middle school is hard and high school is hard and even college can be hard sometimes. But eventually you fall into the place that you're supposed to be. And when you're yourself, the people who like you for exactly who you are, they find you. And that's not just personal relationships, that's professional relationships, that's regular relationships. I just have found that I was always scared, like, oh, I gotta be more like this to get to this place. And that's just not true. I just had to be myself and do the things that I liked. And eventually it all worked out and it has worked out great for me. So
Yeah, being authentically you. I love that encouragement for our students and, your deep response to these deep questions. All right, Genevieve, your next question.
So, did you find it difficult to adapt to like your new environments? And if so, how did you cope with that?
I think so when I went to college, I moved almost 1,000 miles away and I didn't know anyone and it was just something I wanted to do. I had looked at schools in the Philly area and in Pennsylvania, but I don't know why I had just always had it in my head that I wanted to go to a warmer place or a southern school with a big football team and get that whole experience. And so when I went down there, I felt like I was at home. And so I was like, okay, I think I could do this. I think I can do this. However, when I first got there, it was the first time I'd ever lived outside of my family home and away from my parents and on my own. And I think, doing that helped me be who I am. And I'm not saying you have to move away from where you're from to do that, but in that I had to stand on my own. I had to learn how to do everything. I could still call my mom anytime I needed to, but she wasn't there to fix all my problems. And I think that really helped me adapt through the rest of once I started my professional career, having to do it, kind of getting thrown into the fire. And that was a choice I made for myself. Like I said, it worked out in the end, but I didn't know at the time that it was going to. I used to get really homesick, like once a semester. I'd be like, oh, I don't know if I could do this anymore. I miss my mom and dad and I miss my siblings. And I miss my dog. And, I would call my mom and she would say, one, you feel like this every semester at least once. And two, she'd say,
Predictable.
no, you love where you are. You love what you're doing. You like your classes and you like your friends and you like the clubs you're in and you love your sorority and all these things and just try to remember that.
Right.
Life isn't always perfect every day, and I don't even want to give that illusion right now. I love what I do and I love my life, but I'm not going to say it's perfect every day. There are hard days and there's things where you have to adapt and pivot, and that's just a part of it. And it's just easier once you're already through that part to look back and say, well, it was all worth it. When in that moment, you might not necessarily know that it was.
That's good, Hannah. What I hear is that you have different times in your life where you displayed how resilient you can be and the results of that. So that's amazing. I love that you shared that. Genevieve, that was a great question.
Yeah, it
I see
was.
that you're in the 11th grade right now, so you still have another year and a half of high school. What are your plans after you graduate?
I want to get my bachelor's degree and my associate's degree, but I'm really into the medical field as well. So I was thinking to go to school for nursing.
All right.
So
Well, it sounds like Hannah can relate to this. And Genevieve, how did you become interested in nursing?
Well, since my mom, she was a immigrant and then she came to the United States when she was pregnant with me, so she didn't really have like much to do. She had a cleaning job basically, and then that's when she went to school in America and then she got like her degree and she also graduated from like a nursing school. So like And when I seen her do those type of things, like, I realized, like, "Oh, I wanna be a nurse, and I wanna follow into her footsteps." So and I genuinely just did, like, nursing in the medical field as well.
Awesome.
Awesome. Hannah, what kind of encouragement do you have for somebody like Genevieve who's already young and on that path, just kind of like you
Yes.
were leaving high school?
I want to make sure being a nurse is amazing and it is incredible. And I want to make sure that I don't say anything to steer you away from that. It just wasn't for me. I think we need more nurses. And I think it is an incredible thing to be involved and want to help people. And honestly, go for it. I think half the battle is the personality. And I think that I can tell just on this call, you have that. You know, you have to be kind, you have to be caring, you have to be able to take care of someone in their toughest or weakest moment. You were all, I'm sure, great students. So that will come in time. And I think you will do great. And also nursing is awesome. You can live anywhere and do nursing anywhere. If you want to travel and do nursing, my best friend, she has lived in like 15 different states because she said, oh, I'll just be a traveling nurse there now. And it's a great opportunity to see the
There's
world and do other things.
yeah. There's so many options in nursing, like the travel
Absolutely.
nursing that you mentioned. There's like the emergency rooms. There's, working with pediatrics. Hannah, can you share something that you learned in nursing school before you left that you might be able to share or encourage Genevieve with?
I think I did learn this is a tough question. I'm like, who what else have I learned? It's been a long time since I was in college. Um, I would say that just being resilient, keep showing up. That was one thing I learned. And even if that like, one day means that that wasn't exactly what you wanted to do, keep showing up for whatever the next thing is. Just keep showing up. You'll figure it out. And
Keep
that was
showing up. That's a good lesson. I think that could be applied to so many different things. Just in the interest of time, let's move over to Blake. Blake is our Renaissance guy, right? And that's why he gets all these deep questions.
I love it.
Blake is into cooking, writing, music. Reading is not on there, but I feel like you're a reader based on the questions that you asked, Blake. Share with Hannah, this is your senior year, what your plans are after high school.
After high school, I'm planning to go to college as well as starting businesses or like a mini business to just help out with college and just build my identity to further get out more and get more verse with people.
And Hannah, what kind of encouragement, especially from your marketing sense, that may be able to
Absolutely.
help
Well, I love that, hearing that you love to cook, and that is something I also love to do. And it just triggered this memory in my head, which is, getting or starting a business to help out. I think my encouragement would be, like I said, utilize your network or build a network and then see how you can get jobs in the meantime to learn. No one just one day says, I'm going to start a business and I'm going to do it perfect right off the bat. They learn from people, they learn from mentors, they learn from people that do it before them, how they do it, how they run a business. And I would say if there's something you're passionate about, maybe get a part-time job doing something like that. Do something where you can learn. One of my best friends it's so funny. This is the story that she loved to cook. She loved to cook all throughout college. She worked on our weekends for a catering company when we were in college, again, just to like help out with tuition and, other things like that. And um, while she worked on her degree, she did that. She learned from as many people. She built this network while she could. And then when she graduated college, she had built up all this stuff and she's planning to start an events business now. She loves to cook. She loves like wedding parties and different things for catering. And she plans to do that. And she's utilized the network that she's created through these small business that were just on the side to help, have some money in her pocket. But then in the end, helped her build her dream career and helped her build a business.
That's awesome. Blake, what do you think about that? Any of your interests? You feel like you might be able to start your own little business there or help you get through college?
So far, from what I from what I have thinking so far, because I'm already working for photography, like with my job right now, I'm just planning to just start out with that and then slowly get more knowledge with everything else to start off there.
That's awesome. And that's a really perfect way too, photography, because one, you're learning that and that's a marketable skill that you can sell. But then additionally, you're taking pictures of people and those people have no other people. And so even just in your clients that you're taking photos of, they can become part of your network and help you pivot
That's
in the future.
awesome. Yep. And again, photographers are needed in every industry.
Absolutely.
Let's go to Ayana. Ayana, this is your senior year. Tell us a little bit about what you're interested in. I think we've heard a little bit about that in previous sessions, but share with Hannah what you're most interested in and what you plan to do when you
I
graduate.
I dip and dabble in a lot, like a lot of things. After high school, I plan on going to school for nursing as well. as, Genevieve, continuing all my businesses that I started in 8th grade. It's a lot. I don't know.
What businesses
I
did you
started
start
a
in eighth
cleaning
grade?
business, a family cleaning business, a clothing line that I'm still rebranding in the process. It's a long process. It's taking me longer than I expected. I got a lot going on.
Awesome. That's really awesome. And like we've talked about throughout,
Yeah.
you can be a nurse and do that while you're pursuing these other passion projects as well, and find a way to maybe blend them or blend your knowledge for different things. I see it, I can feel it in my brain. Just there's different ways to blend all of these different careers in the things that you like and things that you're learning, and I'm sure it'll come together. It'll be awesome.
That's right. Ayana, what kinds of skills have you picked up having started a business? Oh my gosh, 6 years ago. Eighth grade was 6 years ago for you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Do the math.
Sound like that.
Five years ago. What lessons in business have you learned that you're going to take forward with you?
Dang. It's a lot. I don't know. Well, it's not that I don't know. It's really like just keep going. That people's opinions actually do matter.
Right.
Well, when it comes to your life, okay, it doesn't matter. But when it comes to your business and you have to make money, you gotta listen to people's opinions and you gotta roll with the punches a little. Because at the end of the day, they're the consumers and they're the ones buying it.
So, do you have any repeat customers? Do you have people coming back? What's the retention like in your
So with the
businesses?
cleaner company is the most successful right now because clothes, it's a lot of opinions that I had to take in, and that's why it's taking me so long. It's truly, yeah,
Is
it's
there a
definitely a
level of
level of
networking?
networking. It's definitely a level of not all company is good company, even if it's your own family, they will do you dirty too. It's there's
Yeah.
countless lessons that I've learned in the past 5 years that changed my brain chemistry a little.
At such a young age. Hannah, do you have any other wisdom to share with somebody who's already been in business for 5 years, not even
I'm
graduated
thinking
from high
she can
school?
give me advice. Oh my goodness, you've learned a lot. You're ahead of the curve because I think a lot of lessons that you're saying are things that took me well into my 20s to learn. So you're ahead of it and you're in a great place to start a career, whatever that looks like. And, I agree. I will say my one little piece of advice is while you probably could take some business advice from other people, don't ever change up your style or anything like that. If they don't like it, then it's not for them. That's not who you're selling it to. And I don't mean to say you're right or the highway. Obviously, when you're growing a business, you need to learn, like I said, from mentors and other people who have built businesses before you. But style is art, it's your preference. And if someone says, oh, I'm not going to wear that, then they don't have to. Someone else will.
That's awesome. Let's go, Hannah. Come on, cheer her on. I love that. Let's move on to Veronica. We have some few minutes left here. Veronica, what are your plans? Veronica, you're also a senior. I have a note that you like to read. What sorts of books do you like to read? Is that something that you want to apply in your career choice? Tell us a little bit.
I read mostly as a hobby, so I don't really see that going into my career. I am planning to become a carpenter or go somewhere in the engineering field, although I'm not really sure about that. And today's discussion helped me learn that it's okay. Even if I don't become a carpenter or go into engineering, I can do anything as long as I'm dedicated to what I choose to do.
Oh my gosh, Hannah, perfect. You share with Veronica all the things that you're exposed to in your industry.
Sometimes you can start, you know, a role or you can start an education process and all you learn from it is that it wasn't for you. Like I said, that was for me in nursing, but it did guide me to what I did like to do. And in my aspect, I did like caring for people and I did enjoy that part of things. It was actually really just the blood and gore I didn't like, which I probably should have thought about prior to, to signing up for nursing. But then I learned, hey, I actually like to talk. I like to be with people and be caring and give them a good experience. Where else can I do that? That's not just a nursing skill, that's a person skill. Where can I translate that to somewhere else? And I think that's the same thing for you. If you start down a path and you think, wow, okay, all I learned here is I really hate every second of this and I never want to do it again. Cool, that's a lesson. You learned it and you can move on. You don't have to know everything at 18. You don't have to know everything at 29. You can figure it out as you go. And I just hate when people are like, oh, well, you got to know what you want to do with your life. I still think I'm a kid. I don't know what I want to do with my life.
That's right.
So I'm always learning new things that I like to do and how I would like to do that in my professional life. And, I think that's awesome. That's great. You'll figure it out. It'll work out and don't be down on yourself if it's not what you thought it was on the first try.
That's awesome.
rarely is.
Hannah, are there internship opportunities with Panoni?
There absolutely is. Yeah. If you want to shoot me an email and you're interested or you wanted to come by, even just in your, summertime, like do like a week-long internship rather than a full internship, we are always open and we're always hiring. So I would love to.
Hannah is the one to connect with too. She knows all the people.
That's us
Veronica,
building our network right there.
that's right. That's right. Veronica, tell us really quick. How did you get interested in being a carpenter and engineering? I feel like I've heard this before, but share with Hannah where that came from.
Originally, I was interested in architecture, but then I realized there's a lot of work in architecture, and I really like math, and working with my hands is something that I'm good with, rather than like thinking about things and whether or not they work that way. I like to see it right in front of me and fix it that way. And I've realized that carpentry or like any other type of engineering would be great for me.
Yeah, you have that analytical engineering brain. You sound like a lot of the people that I work with. And I think that was great. My brother's also an engineer and he is the same as you. He likes math. He likes to figure it out. He likes that there's an answer. It's not fluid. He likes that he can see how we got from A to B to C.
There's a system out there.
And there's a
Yeah.
lot of things there that you can do in that. Also, I know I'm saying so many stories. I feel like I have a story for each thing, but somebody else we work with, he likes to do trades on the side and he does carpentry on the side and he enters a woodworking competition every year. And our whole company knows about it because he makes beautiful pieces, but he's also an engineer. So you could do both. Who knows?
We love Panoni. You guys are so amazing. Veronica, while we're with you, can you share with us something that made the future feel a little bit more possible in this conversation with Hannah?
Especially when Hannah said that she realized that nursing wasn't good for her after she went to college, because I'm worried about going to college or investing in my future and then switching. But then like seeing that you're confident and you're on your feet really helped me realize that, oh, sorry, helped me realize that I can do just the same.
Absolutely. I'm glad that's
It's
a good
awesome.
lesson to learn. You don't have to have it all figured out.
That's right. And then let's go back to Blake. What's one thing you didn't realize before our conversation with Hannah today?
That that networking doesn't really depend on a certain situation. Dep It depends on just your connections that you have with people.
That's awesome. Such good encouragement and wisdom, Hannah. We are going to surprise and pop in a question here from Mr. Smith. How was your first experience meeting Hannah and this new in our new studio with Access Co-Leaders?
So I greatly appreciated the opportunity for the students and I to meet Hannah today. What I really took to heart was her basically, and I'm going to paraphrase what you said, but basically telling the students that leaving the nest and testing your wings is part of the growth cycle and part of putting yourself out there to see that you can do things on your own, and that, home is always going to be there and you always have that support, but going out on your own and proving your mettle and kind of showing yourself you can do it to show others you can do it is a big part of the growth process and the finding yourself.
Finding yourself. I love that. And all that resilience. Before we go back to Hannah, Genevieve, share something that resonated with you in this conversation. I know that you and Hannah had that similarity leaving high school wanting to be a nurse, but anything else that resonated with you?
It's mostly her confidence. Like Veronica had mentioned as well, like how she's like willing to be able to like accept the fact like something's not good for her, so she shouldn't be able to like continue pursuing it. So it's helping me realize that even if nursing doesn't work out for me, God forbid, that I will be able to like explore more as well.
And still
Thank you.
be
That's
still
so
be
sweet.
successful. Right. Hannah, I know you're battling a little cold there, but I
I'm
hope
like,
you
this
feel
is for
better.
you guys, but I'm feeling amazing.
That's right. Again, another reason why we exist as Access Co-Leader, because Anna, your story, the challenges and the pivots that you've experienced matter, and these students get to learn from hearing that. So as you have said earlier in the session, our students, you're not here to choose a career today, right? You're here to imagine what might be possible and notice what resonated with you. Really, I just want to emphasize curiosity is a good place to start. You guys asked amazing questions. Hannah, as always, thanks again for joining us today and sharing about your career journey and all the couple pivots even before you've turned 30. What's the website for Panoni? Share with us, our
It is
listeners, the website.
www.panoni.
That's awesome. This is Access Co-Leaders. We'll see you next time.
Thanks.
All right.